right, you are listening to another episode of the 28 to 3 podcast. I'm Corey. I'm here with Max and Nick. Today we're going to be talking about the Saints' schedule. As we all know, it's just recently released. A lot to digest on there. Some easy opponents, some pretty difficult, but overall, it looks like a pretty friendly ordeal. So, hopefully this episode we can get into that. I'm still licking my wounds from the toll y'all took at me on that Caden Ellis take last episode.
Well, time out. What college did Caden Ellis go to?
Idaho.
All right, so we're a step ahead of last week.
We're on the right track.
That's a win.
Yeah.
Baby steps.
And so, we know we'll be playing him twice on this schedule, but I'm thinking that we can go through
Both
this.
L's in Corey's mind.
Well, L's for him. He does have two L's in his name. But we're going to go, I think we take this week by week. Starting with week 1, Titans coming home in the Dome. What do we think? Why don't you kick it off, Max?
Yeah, I think other than Derrick Henry, which obviously scares everybody in the NFL, week 1, you got to think we win that one. Homecoming, first game for Derek Carr. It's going to be a very just rowdy environment. Week 1's always a good time. I think if we can slow down Derrick Henry and our run defense for the past couple of years, not as much last year, but I think we can get back to it with the additions on the defensive line. We should be able to slow him down enough to where we can come away with the win.
I think that's a tougher game than what you do. Run defense, we're going to have a lot of new rotational pieces there. Sometimes that takes time to get together. That's their strong suit. They're always going to be a really tough, hard-nosed defense. We've got a new quarterback that we're integrating in the offense, new players. So I think that's a tough game. They're a super physical team. I think that one's 50-50 for me.
The weapons on their offense don't scare me as much. Like, A.J. Brown's not there anymore.
Their outside weapons don't, yeah.
Yeah. So we're looking at, Treylon Burks to see if he takes the leap in the second year. Other than that, what do they have at wide receiver?
Not much.
So you're looking at the primary focus is going to be slowing down Derrick Henry.
Right. And that worries me a little just because of the new pieces on the D-line. All new defensive tackles, essentially.
Right. Our new pieces are at the front line of a run defense.
So we'll see. And obviously Derrick Henry, first game of the season, will be fresh. It won't be a late season.
So what's your call, win or loss?
Yeah, let's all go on the record for each game, and Nick's going to keep tally.
Yeah, and then we'll edit up the end. We're not going to think about it. We're going to think of it game to game rather than a big, the whole season in one shot.
Or are you going with tie?
I'm going to go no ties. I'm going to go win, but I think that's a really tight game.
Yeah, I agree. That's all that I was thinking is that this is going to be one of those. I just see this being one of those insanely frustrating games where there's not a lot of points scored. Derrick Henry gets. We're going to get him maybe to like a 3rd and 1 or a 3rd and 4, and he's going to just get the first down 3 times on the drive by like 1 yard. And, that's a contribution of the new pieces on the defense, but I feel like it's going to be one of those games where we don't ever feel like we're comfortably ahead. And I think that's due in large part to it being the first game for our offense. As I think we've seen a trend since they've shrunk the preseason, since the NFL has gone to this policy of limited contact in training camp. I think teams come out rusty more years than they used to in the past. And the hardest place to shake off the rust is on the offense, especially when you have a new quarterback. Maybe Michael Thomas is going to be coming off of pretty much a year off.
Bet the under. That's what I would say.
I agree.
This sounds like one of those 17-16 games or something like that.
I'm still going to go with win. This is one of those games where we have to bet on our defense as a whole. And, maybe Ryan Tannehill will just be Ryan Tannehill for this game. I don't think Levis starts.
Max?
Yeah, and to Corey's point, the first game of the regular season over the last few years is almost like the 4th game of the preseason. Teams, they really don't work out all the kinks in the preseason anymore, so that first game really is kind of sloppy. So I'm going to go win as well, but I think 12 to 7, something like that. Some kind of low scoring, just slugfest.
Yeah, Dennis Allen's special on that one.
Yeah, being at home might be the difference in that one.
I think that agreed. That's the difference in the game.
Yeah. All right, so week 2, first primetime game of the year. Shocker. At Carolina Monday night. Bryce Young's first primetime game.
Andy Dalton, most likely.
Well,
We'll see.
We'll see.
I think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be Bryce.
I do too. I know what they're saying. I mean, it's the number 1 pick.
I don't think you gain if you're. I mean, now this is a different topic than the schedule, but I think if you're Carolina, I don't see what you gain. We just saw a whole season of Andy Dalton. I don't see what is to be gained by playing him instead of Bryce.
And it just, that's what they're going to say to protect Bryce going into the season. Who's the last number 1 overall? Is anyone recent not started right out of the gate? And recent,
There's been a few, man.
The last 5 years. Like, no, it's a new thing. They kind of start right away now.
I mean, Burrow jumped right in.
Kyler did, right? He was day 1. Trevor Lawrence was day 1.
Yeah.
Baker.
Yeah, they were all day ones. No, Baker was not. He was actually behind Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah, but he got hurt the first game or the second game?
No, like the 5th game.
But their
fifth game.
choice was
Yeah.
not to start him right away. So maybe that's your most recent
So that's the
example.
only one. And
But to Nick's point, though, the it has changed. Like the outlook on how teams approach it has changed over the last few years, and that they're more willing to throw the rookie quarterback into the fire from in week 1.
Yeah.
So
So what do we think about Carolina going there? It's a night game. I feel like we almost always play them during the day over there. I feel like playing them in Charlotte week 2 is early. I feel like maybe I'm wrong. I'd have to go back.
well, no,
But-
we did last year as well.
Yeah.
Jameis had, or was it the year before?
that was the
where Jameis
Kamara
had a
fumble
meltdown
game, right? He
Right.
fumbled it and they returned it for
Yeah.
a touchdown. We ended up losing.
So I'll put it this way on this game. I never feel good about playing in Charlotte, even when we have the best teams, and it being Monday night there, if indeed it's Bryce and not. Now look, if Andy Dalton plays, I like it as a win, but I don't think Andy Dalton's going to be the quarterback for them. Bryce is going to be there. Their crowd's going to be hyped, and like we said earlier amongst ourselves off air, Carolina's defense is really good.
And back to early in the season, offense is going to be finding their legs.
still-
That defense is elite.
Right.
They have been for a couple years.
Offense is still going to be rusty. Carolina's going to have, and above that, Carolina's going to have a game of tape on us. Granted, it's only one game, but it's just a lot easier for a defense to pin their ears back and go full speed, especially at home, especially prime
So you
time.
going loss?
Going loss.
I agree.
Yeah,
I'm going to go loss.
too.
Just from the last 2 seasons, we have not played well at all in Carolina. Both games in the last 2 years have been just. It's the prime example of laying an egg. It's been awful performances. Yeah, I don't think we win.
If it was later in the season, I would change my mind.
Yeah.
Sure.
So you're going loss too?
Yep.
Okay.
I think if we would, I'd much rather this one been at home early in the season
Agree.
and the later game be there. I think would be better suit us. But yeah, I think this one's another tight game. It's going to be a low scoring, something around just under 20. But I think they probably take us in this one. So I'm gonna say loss also.
Yep. All right. So moving on from there, we'll be I have us at 1-1.
Well, don't worry about tallying it up right now.
All right,
Let's just
I'm
go
just-
game to
I'm
game. Don't.
Let's just
don't
talk.
do
We're
that.
gonna add it up at the end and see
We'll
what
add it
we
up
all.
at the end. Yeah.
Just talking.
We'll add it up at the end.
So, anyway, like I was saying, we go into Green Bay the following Sunday, short week, noon game. But it's in Green Bay. Thank God it's in September. I think that brings me to a comment I had. One of the first things I noticed about the schedule is pretty much any opponent away game that could be a cold weather game is positioned to where it won't be. So climate wise, we're not going to be looking at the schedule thinking, shit, we got to go to Philly in November or December, or got to go to Chicago when it's cold, or even Carolina can get cold in December. So September game in Green Bay, the weather's going to be perfect. Coming off of I see us coming off a loss in Carolina. I think we show up, we play. It dare I say it's the first game where we see the offense completely click with Derek Carr. I think if it's going to happen, it would be this game. And it also has the potential for it to be a complete dumpster fire with Jordan Love. look, it might not be, but I think this. We talk about offense getting off to a rocky start. It's going to take a hell of a lot longer for the engine to get revved up with a brand new quarterback, and he's a brand new starter for them.
Right? Maybe.
You know,
I mean, he's been there 4 years, so maybe.
Right, but there's no way to have. You can't. You hear it all the time. You can't replicate your first time being the starter. So I think it takes Jordan Love more than 4 games, more than 3 games in this case, to get truly comfortable. We take advantage of that. Our defense plays pissed off. Our offense clicks. I see good things in this game. I'm giving it a win.
I'm a little on the fence with that. We've tended to struggle with quarterbacks that don't have a lot of tape. Rookie quarterbacks have always caused us fits for no good reason. So
at least Love has some game tape. We can hopefully that means we can see tendencies, but you're right. It's not as a starter.
It's hard to truly know where he's deficient without a bigger sample size. I think I feel like we've always done better when we know who that quarterback is.
Sure.
I mean, just that's under the Peyton era more than we were only 1 year into this Dennis Allen thing, so maybe it's something different. But he was doing the defense for the bulk of those years, and he seemed to struggle with 2 things: inexperienced quarterbacks without tape and mobile quarterbacks have always caused us trouble with Dennis Allen. With that said, I think our offense, like you said, is probably starting to take off, has found its legs by then. So I would think we'll be able to score in that game. Weather's not going to be an issue, like you said. But I'm going to call it a loss. A higher scoring loss.
Okay. You kind of threw a twist in at the end. I thought you were going up and up and up, and you're like, it's a loss.
I think we're going to see a ton of good things, and then, I just...
Ooh, man.
I don't know. I hate playing there.
They
are a good team. We also don't know about all those weapons. They have a ton of rookies that played last year at the skill positions that all had their moments. Watson and Dobbs both had... Or what? Dobbs, is that right?
No, you take Watson and...
what's the other one that before Watson came on and scored in 8 straight games? And all
they
that?
had both kinds of moments.
Romeo Dobbs, right? Is that
they had good moments, but they also had moments where Rodgers couldn't have put the ball in a better spot.
True.
And they just let it go.
But now we're year 2. So, and Watson had moments to look like a legit number 1 receiver.
Yeah. Dude, Watson was fantastic last year.
And you still have Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. They have some pieces there. So I think another super close game. I'm going to say a loss just because it's on the road. But I don't think I think it'll be really tight, and I think the offense gets its legs in that game.
I agree in that I think it's going to be a close game. I'm going to say a win on this, just from the overall talent perspective. I think our defense, we have a lot of veteran guys, and I think they're going to pull it together and really, they're going to put it on Love pretty good. I think Love, his inexperience is going to show in this game. The offense, I think you're going to start to see them hit their stride a little bit. The running game with the hopefully 3-headed monster, depending on what happens with Kamara. I think we'll be good enough to get the win, but I do agree with Nick in that it's going to be a close game. I think something like 17-14.
Now here's a question. We talked about this being the game that we think the offense clicks and finds it. Now, in a world in which it doesn't, if this game comes and goes and our offense looks like for 3 straight games like it hasn't found its legs, or it reminds you of last year's offense, are you hitting the panic button at this point in the schedule?
No.
Fair enough.
Not for me. 3 games, I'm not going to panic yet, especially if we were to win one of them. If we were 1-2,
if you're 0-3, I'll be a little worried.
I'll start to panic.
But if you're 1-2 or 2-1, I'm not. I have no issues at all.
That's where I'm at.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. So we finally after 2 games on the road, we come.
Corey,
home.
what was your?
I'm a win.
He's a win.
I'm a win.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to really evaluate, I guess, the big picture of it until the 4 games in.
Right.
It used to be 16-game season. You look at it as 4 quarters of the season. Let me get 4 games in. If we're 0-4, yeah, I'm going to be worried. Yeah. But if we're 2-2,
2-2 is your number.
We're good.
I think if there's any way for Adam to make his hashtag bigger on his Twitter handle, if we're 0-4, the fire Dennis Allen. That's definitely happened. And
That
a
will
lot
all
of,
start up
I
again.
think a lot of
for
people will
sure.
do that. People will absolutely start clamoring for it at 1 and 2, but I think us being more sound minds wouldn't.
Also,
go there.
depending how it looks. You know,
Yeah, and-
if
and
it's just a
injuries as
mess,
well.
I agree.
The eye test is a big factor
Yeah.
for fans, maybe not for Gail Benson. But moving on to week 4, Tampa Bay Bucks at home. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one, and I might not spend a lot of time on the next Bucks game. It's a win. I think Tampa is shaping up to be trash. I know they still have some good pieces. Baker's Baker, but Max knows how I feel about Baker.
Wait, hold on. Is this the Panthers Baker Mayfield we're worried
No,
about,
you
or
see,
the Buccaneers Baker?
after one of our episodes, it was brought to my attention that Baker Mayfield actually did not sign with the Carolina Panthers. That
He
he's-
did once.
He got so close, kind of like he got close to beating Georgia in the college football playoff. He got so close to signing with the Panthers that I thought he did. He didn't. He signed with the Bucks, who we play in week 4 in the Dome at noon, who we will beat. It'll be a win, and I don't think it's going to be much of a.
Who did Carolina start?
They're gonna
in
be-
our
they're
loss to
gonna be
Carolina
tanking.
last year? That first one.
What's that?
Who was the starter in Carolina that first game, the Kamara game, fumble?
It was
For-
Baker.
It was Baker, right?
Yeah. He
So
won.
he beat us.
Yeah. That was the one game he won last year.
Yeah, the one
How
thing
do you
I'm
feel
not
about
gonna.
that?
The one thing I'm not gonna do is say, "Oh yeah, you're right, Baker Mayfield. Oh man, he's." Gonna,
I'll be honest with you. If we don't beat Tampa,
Baker's gonna get us.
If we don't beat
you can
Tampa,
pack the
then I'm
season
going to be
in.
worried.
It's done.
I think. Yeah, I think it's a safe to say that that's a barometer game. I think that's when the panic button
if
comes
you
out.
can't beat that team next year,
Or if you even if you look like shit against a shitty team, it'll show that our coaches, it's a sign of good coaching. We saw it under Peyton. We did at times, sure, but overall, if we played a bad team, we beat them like they were a bad team. That when we were at
don't
our
know about
best,
that.
when we were at our best, I think we did. We talked about those Rams anomalies that would come up.
that
but
winless Rams team that cost us home field advantage,
Right,
and everybody called
anomalies.
us against a Super Bowl
It-
under Peyton.
Look, he coached here long enough to where his career is not without anomalies. But what I'm saying is, a sign of good coaching is that your team does what your team's supposed to do, and good teams blow out bad teams. We saw that happen in the Super Bowl year. We saw that happen in 2011. So if we are back in another look, I get it. Dennis Allen's a defensive coach. The games typically are closer because of his strategy. But if we look like we're struggling to sneak out a victory against the Bucks,
I would
even a
start
win-
worrying then.
yeah,
You want to talk about the first 4 games? If we look
Yeah.
like crap against that team, I will start to worry.
like sure winning is everything most of the time, but it isn't that week.
Yeah, I don't think we have to blow them out or anything like that. We can't look bad.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
You got to win that game, and you got to look like you're coming together at that point.
Where you at, Max? You excited to see Baker Mayfield?
He's always excited to see Baker.
All right. Do we need to rehash the bet? We've touched on it before. We'll leave it alone. But that whiskey was good that you bought me.
Yeah.
But I think for this game,
Sure
though,
was.
it's a home game. It's Buccaneers. You have to beat the ones on the schedule that you're supposed to beat. That being said, the Buccaneers do still have talent. You still got Mike Evans. You got Chris Godwin. They got some players still. I think Fournette's a free agent.
What did they give Godwin to stay? I didn't see his contract.
They gave him a solid contract, man. He's going to be around for a hot minute.
Tom Brady
defense has still got some players.
Slid something under the table too.
Defense definitely still has some players.
Yes, I don't think this is the we're going to walk all over them game that you guys were talking about. This is going to be a tougher game. It's a division game.
That quarterback situation, I
The
feel like
quarterback
it is
situation
one
is
of those.
bad. It's either Trask or Mayfield. We
If you're
should
any
win the
good-
game, and I'm going to give us a win. But that being said, I think it's closer than you guys are saying.
Closer than the experts.
I don't care what the score is as long as we look good.
I never care what the score is, just win. But that being said, it's going to be a closer game, and I think it's going to be in doubt going into the fourth quarter.
I'm just saying, if you don't win that game, this season's not going to be good.
Agree.
That's a game you have to win. They're a top 10 pick in the draft for sure next year, in my opinion.
I think top 5.
Probably.
Yeah. That being said, division game is closer than we're thinking. I think.
Yeah, but you're also at home. Like I just
No, we
think
should
that
win. We
it's a
should
game
win.
you have to win. All right, so but then on to New England. How do you feel about that?
Going to Boston.
New England. All right. So Mac Jones. Let's see. They haven't made too many improvements, I don't think, this offseason. Any big moves where you're looking at it and saying, all right, that game's going to be really tough. I'm gonna give us the win, man. He's been on the slide the last couple of seasons. You've always talked about Brady being the one that made Belichick. And I think you're right. I think this is we're seeing it. Look, he's creeping up on his last season in New England. It's coming sooner rather than later.
They did make the playoffs year before last, though, correct? And they
Yeah.
almost made the playoffs.
Dude,
last
they
year?
were bad.
But they were a
last
winning
year.
record, correct? Or no?
Yeah, but they had Matt Patricia as the offensive
Yeah, that was a
coordinator, which is
disaster.
one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Yeah, there's no.
He's moved on.
They're clamoring in Boston that they've got a coordinator. They
And
say we got a coordinator for Mac fucking Jones now, so
Well,
we're gonna fucking win.
the
But I don't think that's
division-
the case.
Aaron Rodgers is a wild card. Tua, health, wild card.
Well, Tua's only wild card is health. When he
Ro-
plays, he's on.
Well,
Well, you
this
heard-
year.
you
The
heard
previous
he's,
years that he was not on.
Tua's
But-
been doing jujitsu, so he's
yeah,
good
he
now.
did do jiu-jitsu, and
That's-
he looks chubby now, which is good. So maybe he can take some hits. He
It
looks
looks like-
more Samoan.
Looks like Pudge Rodriguez. Baseball reference off football topic, but no, I mean,
And-
yeah, you got it, Nick.
No, I'm just saying, as far as that has to do with their division and how good they'll be. I think I agree with Max in that the Belichick has stepped back. I've always said that, the quarterback is what makes it tick. The coach is a secondary component to that. That's just the way I view it. If you have if you have a Brady, a Breeze, I mean, you have such a competitive advantage on every team you play because they can overcome so much. But he still manages to keep them decent somehow. And it's last year was the ugliest football you'll ever see. Zappy came in. They won a couple games. Then he throws like 4 picks in a game. Mac Jones is throwing picks all over the park. Somehow they end up with a winning record. It's bizarre. So he is.
Well, he is a great coach.
I think he's a great coach.
Yeah.
But I just don't know if you can overcome that roster. That roster is probably third place in that division this year.
Yeah.
Agree.
This is one of those talent games where you want to put it on coaching. I mean, there's no one in the world who's going to say that or predict that Dennis Allen's going to outcoach Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick will, if nothing else, take away our best player,
Right,
whoever
I was
it
gonna
is,
say.
at that point in the season.
Speaking
So,
of defenses,
let's just say the clouds
Matthew Judon
part.
running around crazy. They
he's-
have people.
He's going to be a problem, and it might be one of the games where us fans are going to say, "Oh God, our tackle just got exposed." It's like, no, that guy was just that fucking good. There will
Probably
be
top
problems.
5
See,
defensive player in the league last year.
Carr will be hard pressed for throws, but this is one of those games that maybe this is a big Jamal Williams game where you put in the big back, you throw him the short dump off passes. But yeah, I'm putting this as a win, even though Belichick will make it tough for us. It will be a close win. It's not just going to be a we run all over Mac Jones day. But I think we take advantage of him. I think it'll be the first year for him and a new coordinator. I think Dennis Allen, if nothing else, is very good at scheming defensively. I think he'll have enough tape on Mac Jones, the new coordinator at this point, to know what to do, put him in a place of discomfort. Hell, maybe even Brzee gets a little bit more comfortable by the time this game rolls
All right,
around.
so Corey said Jamal Williams. I'm going to say Kendra Miller. To me, this is the game where you're going to see the surprise player come out and play a big role. To me, it's Kendra Miller. This is his coming out party, this game.
Maybe
That's
because
a-
AK probably still not playing.
I don't have a problem with that call. Mark that down because
Well, the other thing is, remember, Kamara is not officially suspended yet. And there is talk that it might not happen this year. So we might luck out and it doesn't happen until the 2024 season.
Yeah, I think his hearing was set for August.
Then that's not happening this year because that's going to get
Yeah,
prolonged.
exactly. Because there's going to be an appeal.
They're always. If it were any other criminal defendant, that shit's going to draw. But especially with football players, just regardless of jurisdiction, this one's in Las Vegas. You've seen it happen in Arizona, New Orleans, Florida. It always gets pushed back. He is paying for good lawyers for a reason. So hopefully we get him. But I do. Yeah, I think
Mark me down for a win.
some other running back as an alternative breakout game. I'm going with Jamal.
Yeah,
Williams.
it feels like a player that's been kind of quiet for the first couple weeks and has a bust-out game. So to
Yeah.
me, give me Kendra Miller, breakout game, win.
I'm gonna say it's a win based on we were just talking about. I get worried about quarterbacks when they go backwards in year 2. Mac Jones played very well for a rookie. Mm-hmm. He played nowhere near that level
didn't
once
look-
people had film on him.
Looks like a different person.
That to me is a sign. Maybe he isn't what they thought they were drafting in the first round. When quarterbacks go backwards from 1 to 2, generally that's not a good sign.
Sure.
So I'm gonna say it's a win based on that, in that Mac Jones is not going to be one of those great players that he's a marginal quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
And I think we score probably pretty well in that game, and they'll struggle to score. So
I think they definitely struggle to score. I worry about any Bill Belichick defense, but if we find something, figure something out, if the guy that they didn't account for, like Max says, if throwing middle screens to Kendre and they're just like, well, shit, that wasn't in the game plan. We expose him, hit a couple big plays, run up the score, or at least give ourselves maybe a 2-touchdown cushion. That'd be good. So, yeah, I got a win. Max, you have a win.
Yeah, I'm taking a win.
Across the board, I think. Everybody
Okay.
said win.
All right. So next up, another away game. So this would be our 4th away game in the first 6.
Okay, time
And
out.
it's
Let me say
at
this.
Houston.
This is the game you better fucking win.
Well,
If you
yeah.
lose this game against either Davis Mills or CJ Stroud, there is an issue.
I love what they did in the draft, but that team is not good.
It's not good. And
it's not a good
they are devoid of talent.
Yeah.
I really don't think that Davis Mills sees the field. I think it's Stroud from day one. But that said, if there is a scenario where Stroud doesn't come in game 1, this would absolutely.
I don't care who is playing.
I don't care.
But I'm saying that this is absolutely. What I'm setting up here is this is absolutely that kind of game where
It's a trap game.
if Stroud has not yet been on the field, this is the game they decide to put him in. The Texans are trash to this point, and it's a complete trap game where they give themselves kind of manufactured momentum and excitement at a home game. The local, like the closest thing to a geographic rival from the other side of the league, the other conference is coming in, and here we go. Game 1, CJ Stroud. They're all pumped. We don't have tape on them. We let our guard down because we think the team's trash, which, again, would be a sign of a poorly coached team because, like you said, Max, it doesn't matter who you're playing. You got to be up for a game. And you certainly have to be up for the opportunity to just tear somebody's head off, which we should do to the Houston Texans, regardless of who's playing quarterback. Now, I don't think they're going to be totally horrible, but they're definitely a team we should beat. All that said, I think it's a win, but I think it's going to be frustratingly close.
I'm calling it a win.
I can't imagine it's close.
If this
This
is
is a
loss,
stop the run game. If you
think
stop the run, the game's over.
Yeah,
It's all it
agreed.
is.
Agreed.
So that's Dennis Allen's number one thing on defense, stop the run. So if he's doing his job the way he's done it the last 6 or 7 years, you stop the run on the Texans, the game's over.
No, I agree.
So you're saying win as well?
Yeah.
No pathway to success makes sense for the Texans. It's just we've seen a lot of shit over
Name
the
a
years.
Texans receiver.
No, I'm not saying there's
that's
any.
I don't know if you can. I can't.
Tank Dell. There you go.
Well, Max
yeah.
watches too much college football.
Where'd he go to college, Max?
Tank Dell. That would have been
It's actually kind of obvious for the team.
shit. Nope, I don't know.
Houston.
Yeah, there you go.
There
Look
you
at that.
go.
Look at that.
Cougar.
You watched all this film on Tank Dell, but not Caden Ellis.
No, I
Got
just
it.
watched the draft, but I don't want to die on that hill.
So I'm
We
just
talked
saying, they
about this.
traded Brandon Cooks. They've got no weapons for CJ Stroud right now. They really don't.
They really don't.
Nobody with any
Damian
experience.
Pierce is a beast.
Yeah,
we'll say
Pierce
that.
is a beat. That's what I'm saying. This is a stop the run. You
It's
stop
a
the
stop
run,
the run and
the
win
game's over.
kind of
My
game.
basis for saying it's going to be close has nothing to do with logic. It has nothing to do with what's
No,
on
we know
paper.
what you're saying.
It's just
I get what you're saying.
we're the Saints. We've been scarred in the past. I'm scarred.
It's even
Trauma.
hardly a road game. It's a 45-minute flight over there.
Exactly,
You know, it's
exactly.
it's
Shit, I might even go. Let's fucking drive there.
all right. Well, I'll
go.
go. We're going to the Houston game. It's
we
been
go.
settled.
All right, let's move on to
get a-
Jaguars at home.
Let's get a Uba.
Thursday night game. So
Yeah, fuck
it's
a
one of
Thursday
our
night
only
game.
primetime games at home this year, which means the crowd is going to be rowdy as fuck.
But that's Thursday night, right?
Let me just say
Thursday night
this.
games are dog shit.
Let me just say this before we get into like the
flip a
actual
coin.
prediction. Yeah, like Ryan from Saints Twitter, he said this shit, and it was like couldn't agree more. The second the NFL said teams would be allowed a max of 2 Thursday night games, he's like, the second they announced that, you just knew we were getting 2 Thursday night games, and like could not agree more. So
Well,
the
we
first
should
of
have
our
been thankful
Thursdays-
it's not 3.
Yeah, I mean,
They would have
shit.
loved to give the Saints 3.
But anyway, but that said,
So,
what
so
do you-
back to the point. Let's talk about it. Thursday night in New Orleans, one of our only, I think it's our only primetime game at home, correct? Yeah, as of right now, it's the only primetime game at home.
Yeah.
The Atlanta Falcons in Week 18 is TBD. So obviously they'll see where the records stand at that point and make the adjustment from there. So as of right now, the only primetime home game of the season at home. So I'm going to go ahead and say the crowd's going to be rowdy as fuck.
Yeah.
We win that game.
Yeah, I'm thinking the crowd gets up for one of, like Nick said before, one of the best quarterbacks from our schedule that we're going to see coming into the Dome. I think our fans like a challenge.
I think this
And
is the
it's
best quarterback, actually.
Might be the
I
best, yeah.
misspoke on a previous pod that I
just don't know if
thought
you-
we played the LA Chargers, we played the LA Rams. So the best quarterback on our schedule is probably Trevor Lawrence.
Right.
You think over Stafford?
Well,
A
I don't know
broken
what
down
you're getting on
Stafford?
Stafford just from
yeah.
from the injury last year. It's an arm injury. It's a throwing arm injury. That's 50-50. You don't know where that's
Yeah,
going to go.
he's
this year.
practicing right now, though. So.
Yeah. If Stafford's healthy, he's the best quarterback on the schedule. If he's not, it's Lawrence. And
Yeah.
Lawrence is what, an 8 to 15 type of quarterback right now.
Yeah.
Maybe he gets better. So yeah, I think that's probably the toughest one we're going to face. I think we're fortunate to get him at home on a short week where they have to travel.
Yeah, agree.
So I'm going to call it a win just based on that.
Yeah.
Corey, what's your thoughts?
The thing that I'm more concerned with the Jacksonville pieces on defense than I am with, whether our defense can handle Trevor Lawrence. I think our defense can. The run game is usually, I'd call it stout, but it's not anything. If we're going to be going up against better running backs on our schedule. So I think we can handle them on offense. It's more about, their defense always seems to be one that is a bit pesky, kind of just gets in your way, throws off your rhythm. So while it'll be a challenge for our offense, I think that from what I saw out of Jacksonville last year, there's opportunity for shot plays, and I think it's actually, this me being as hopeful as I can, a game where Carmichael can shine, where he can, a good offensive coordinator will take advantage of an aggressive defense, call a screenplay, let all those defensive linemen rushing in, just get as close to the quarterback as you can, you dump it over the top of them, and then you got daylight for whether it's Kamara, Kendre, or Jamal. I think you see a lot of that in this game. Hopefully MT is still healthy and you'll work the play action, but it's a win for me.
Okay. That's one of our tougher games, though. Because like we said, Thursday night's a shit show.
Yeah, I think we get up for it. I think it's one we get up for.
It's the biggest upsets of the season. Some teams come out flat as shit. You just never know what they're coming off the last week. If people are barely nicked up, they can, you might be out a few players you normally wouldn't be. Yeah, short week, you never know. Minor injuries become, those players aren't playing. So
that's that time of year.
A lot of wild cards in that one.
If anyone major is going to be out, they would have been out. At least somebody would go out by then. So injury could be a factor in that game. We don't know where, of course, but I don't know. I still think we get up for it. It's a win.
All right, let's move on to the Colts.
Okay.
At Indianapolis. Nick, lead us off.
I mean, that's
so probably Anthony Richardson at this point.
Right. That's such a good roster.
Well, talking about your boy, Gardner Minshew, a possibility at this point.
I would more fear Minshew than Richardson in year one. I think Richardson has a rough year.
I agree, man, but like the mobile quarterback gives us fits.
He does. No doubt about it. I just don't know if he can complete a pass. If Corey watches a ton of SEC, maybe he can speak on it. I don't know how many Florida games you watch, but I watched him play 4 or 5 times, and dude,
he looks bad.
It was so bad. How he got drafted as high as he did blew my mind.
Just think about this standpoint. So Gardner Minshew, the 2 times the Saints had played him, they shut him the fuck down.
We started slow last year, but then we came back and kicked his ass.
Yeah, both times, kick his ass.
Yeah.
But
Minshew
Richardson, I see all the talent and all that. Like, he's a freakish athlete. He can throw the ball a mile. He's got a cannon. When you watched him play at Florida, you were not scared of that guy at all. At all. So how he rose the way he did in the draft, this is just why, I don't watch a ton of college. Y'all are both better at that than I am. But I watched, I think, 4 or 5 games with him, and The last one against LSU, he had 2 incredible running plays, like incredible plays. Broke 8 tackles, scored an 80-yard touchdown, and I was still like, why would anybody be concerned about facing this quarterback? He's super inaccurate. I think he was around 55% in college.
Yeah.
That doesn't translate great into the pros unless your name's Josh Allen. Somehow that worked.
And
for
your
Josh
coach
Allen.
is Brian Dable.
Yeah.
So having followed a team, being a fan of a team that played Anthony Richardson
Every
last
year,
year,
right.
Here's how the Anthony Richardson experience goes. Before the game, you have everything that everybody saw pre-draft. You have the measurables, the arm strength, and highlight reels of those amazing plays that he has done. So you know what he's capable of. And that does scare you as a fan, that you know that somewhere inside of this man is a 80-yard run from the line of scrimmage as a quarterback. Yeah. But then what happens is he starts to play the game. And when the game starts and you see his... Now look, pro Richardson could be completely different than college Richardson, but his decision-making ability...
It wasn't there in college, yeah.
And even if it's there, it's got to be quick in the NFL level. And I don't see it. I don't see it as something that he was like, oh, well, Frank Reich is the offensive, the head coach, and look at what he did with all these other quarterbacks. And it's like, look, that's great. Like, that sounds great. And that's if I'm a Colts fan, I'm absolutely hiding behind that. But
it's still down the road,
enough.
right?
It's just not enough.
Even if he progresses and he becomes a good quarterback, that's still time to get there for him.
He's got potential to have a worse than Aaron Brooks last season for the Saints season for the Colts.
Stop being mean, Corey.
I mean,
so we're all calling it a win.
It's a win.
Okay. Yeah, but it's a great roster. So, like, I
roster's
love
good,
that
man.
roster. It's so good. They have a top receiver. They have the best running back in the league, debatably. They have a great offensive line. Quentin Nelson, the best offensive lineman in the league, maybe. They have a great defense. Leonard's coming back on defense.
Dude, I'm iffy on this.
Okay, Nick, we get it. You're a
Colts.
Colts fan. Gosh.
I mean, they've
No,
loaded.
I'm iffy on this one.
They have a star at every level of the team. Offensive line, defensive line, linebacker. They're an unbelievable roster that just hasn't had a quarterback. So that worries me a lot.
So I'm going to say this. Spoiler alert for the next week's game, which is a home game against the Bears. We are losing one of these 2 games. And I don't know which one to assign the L to, but we are losing one of these 2 games. And it's going to be because it's a mobile quarterback, and that quarterback is going to go fucking nuts.
Don't you think that was kind of a scheduling gift, though, to get those in back-to-back weeks?
Yeah, so the defense is going to be
They're going to be preparing the same way for
Right.
both of those games.
So
we're losing one of them. I don't know which one to give it an L, so I'm just going to say you call it. Give me an L for one of them.
I'm going to give you an L for the
other one.
Colts because I think they're a way better team than the Bears.
well, if there's an L, you got.
And we're at home for the Bears.
Hold
right?
on.
Fuck it. Give me the L for the Colts.
But so you got.
No, I'm taking an L for the Colts.
We're owning our L's and W's. So Max is owning his L. Nick, look. I got a good feeling. I know I've put probably entirely too many W's in a row for what we know about
You're
this
going
team.
W?
But I'm going W.
I'm actually going to go loss here, too.
Yeah. It just
All right.
feels like
Cool.
that game that
They've got players everywhere.
that
on
team's
that
good.
team.
You
It's
said
a,
it.
It's a
You
really good team.
you painted the picture perfectly. That team is loaded at every level, and honestly, we're due for a loss at this point.
If Reich does, put something together where he runs the ball 12 to 15 times, like early Lamar Jackson type
Yeah.
of thing, and only
He could.
throws at
He could.
18, I could see us getting in some trouble there.
think- Yeah.
And they have a good defense. They're at home.
All right, so L, you're saying W.
W. Okay. So
Okay.
All right, let's bump on to the
That's
next
a
one.
tough one.
the next one is where I'm going to bring my
So we're Bears at home.
L, and that's going to be Bears at home, and it might be a situation of us overlooking the Bears, but I see big things out of Justin Fields this year, and
I do not, just for the record.
that's fine. That's fine. I think he's shown us some capabilities, and yeah. Anyway,
Well, he looks like a great running back.
I will say
I
they
think
haven't
he has
helped him a
enough-
lot. I'll say that.
he has
And-
enough to give. I think he has enough to give us problems, and the Bears are going to be just. it's just the gut feeling I've got where it's at home, and we kind of get a little bit complacent. We see the bye week coming up in a little bit. We overlook them. It's a sleepy game, and we lose.
He for sure can cause us problems.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not what I'm saying. I don't see big things for him. I just haven't seen him throw the ball consistently yet. He's an unbelievable athlete. Did he have 1,200 yards last year? Some crazy number.
Maybe the best athlete, or he's a top 5 athlete in the NFL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when
for
I say
sure.
big things, I don't mean big things throwing the ball. I just think that he has the ability this year, based on building from last year, to take a hell of a lot more command of a game. I think his confidence level's up. Everything you hear from him is not something you think you would hear of, like kind of the more prima donna. Like whatever Justin Fields is doing is the complete opposite of Kyler Murray. Like Kyler Murray is known to want to just play Call of Duty all the time. When he talks, he's not really talking about winning. He's not talking about himself like needing to be better. Every time there's a soundbite out of Justin Fields, it seems so driven, and I just think that look, is he going to be a top 10? I don't know what his metric's going to be. I just think that it's a possibility where he causes problems, and
let's call him what he is.
Yeah.
Who else do you fear on that Chicago team?
Nobody.
Nobody, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah, and
O-line, very, very borderline. Probably bottom.
Yeah,
10 in the league.
you called it. I think the Colts was the one that's more of the trap game that we're more on upset watch. The Bears game, we should win that one. It's at home. It's Fields, and there's nobody else.
yeah, it's one of those that I agree that we should win, but I think kind of
And
like I said, the Texans
Corey's
game,
right. We're going to lose one of those games. Everybody thinks we're going to win.
the Texans game being close.
So
Like
you're
I said, like
you're
the Texans
L.
game shouldn't be close, but it
So
will
you're
be.
saying L.
Saying L.
You're going L.
Okay.
It's one we should win, but we won't.
Mark me down for a W.
Max took the L on.
I took the L on the Colts.
All right.
I'm gonna
What you got?
say we come back and win this one.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, cool. So then we go on the road at Minnesota. I'll start off with this one. That one's tough.
Yeah.
I think, man, you got Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson. They got Addison, formerly of Pittsburgh, all the way through USC in the draft. Man, that team, they always give us trouble. I'm calling that one a loss. It just feels like a loss.
And even Dalvin, I mean, wasn't there's rumors about him potentially being disgruntled.
There are, and that's fine. Plug Madison in.
But that's
I
what I'm
still
saying.
think-
Like,
yeah.
that team's good enough to where their backup can cause some damage, and it hurts for me to say it because if I say L on this, that means I'm calling us at a two game losing streak before the bye. But I mean, I could absolutely see it happening.
I think they were the most overrated team last year in the league.
They were, but they're talented.
It's a very average defense last year.
Who was the one wide receiver to cook Lattimore last year?
Yeah, I mean, and yes, that play to win the game was an incredible catch. It was also perfect coverage.
It was, but
it was an incredible catch.
But I think that goes to
that was just a
point.
guy making an incredible play. I give him all the credit, and you knew we loved him before the draft. I love that guy. You're not stopping a top 5 receiver when they have a chance. No one on the planet is. Dalvin's had his moments against us. The playoff game first half where we ended up losing that we should have won. The Rudolph push-off game. But I'm not overly concerned about him. He didn't even get a 100-yard game in that game, and I think he had 75 in the first half.
he was right around 90.
Yeah, ended up only like 15 yards in a second. We've done okay against Dalvin when we've played him. But don't underestimate. This is, other than Atlanta, probably the biggest rivalry game of the last 5 to 7 years for the Saints. We've had so many crucial games against the Vikings. This is like
There's a
we
lot of
hate
guys,
them and they hate us.
There's
The
a lot of
fans
guys
do.
in our locker room because this, there's like fan rivalries, and then there's these teams where every now and then you hear a player interview, and he'll give you a team that you weren't expecting to be a team that player hates. And I feel like Minnesota is one of those teams.
Well,
where,
Minneapolis Miracle,
especially
then
Cam
you had the
Jordan.
Well,
Rudolph
Kamara
push
dropped
off.
some comments after the game.
Yeah,
know-
there's Kamara, there's Cam Jordan. I mean, I hope they let Cam
And then
Jordan.
Kamara hit him for 6 touchdowns a couple years later. So,
Right.
Yeah,
So-
there's
so
definitely
there's been back and forth.
Yeah, that was the Snow Angels in the end zone game, right?
Yeah.
This is kind of back to that rivalry thing. It's not a rivalry until each other beat each other in a critical spot, and we both done that to each other. So I think this is a game the players, most of our roster marks down as a big game. So I think it's a slugfest. It's on the road. I'm going to say it's a loss too, but I think that's going to be one of the better games of the season.
Should be.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So moving into next week.
Max, you went loss officially, and so did
Yeah,
Corey.
I said loss.
Everybody said loss.
I'm going to guarantee that the week after the Vikings, we're not going to lose.
No, what'd you say for the Vikings, though? You said loss?
I'm a loss. Yeah.
Okay. So then we got the bye week. No one's
Then?
predicting loss there, right, Corey?
I'm not going to do
All
that.
right, there you go. So we're going to go at Atlanta, November 26th. That is Thanksgiving weekend.
First game against the Falcons not coming until
I
November
might actually
26th.
be in Atlanta for that game.
You know
That is a win. Fuck them. We're going to kick
Yeah.
the shit out of them. I might be there. We're winning that game.
I think there's a safe thing to say that it's safe to say that sometimes we play better. There's seasons where we play better in the damn Georgia Dome or the Mercedes, whatever it is, stadium now, than we do at home. And this, I think, is going to be no exception. It might be too close to my nuptials to go, but the Georgia Bulldogs play in Atlanta that same weekend. They play Georgia Tech in Atlanta on Saturday. So if I was to ever go to Atlanta, that would be the time to do it. But it's a win for me.
Okay. Nick?
If the Saints are who I think they are this year, if you don't beat Atlanta twice,
Sound like Dennis Green there, man.
then they're not. Well, they are who we said we are.
That's the second time he's done it. The other one was a reverse Dennis Green. He said he's not who we think he is.
He's not.
Yeah.
So what you got? Win?
It was a green
I've got to
Dennis.
say it's a win just because if we don't beat Atlanta, Tampa, Houston, if you don't beat these teams, we're not going to end up where I think we will end up.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to call it a win with no reason for it
Man,
whatsoever.
You did it.
All right, so 3 wins. Let's jump on to Detroit. Now, this
Yep.
one's going to be a fun game. The Dan Campbell,
This is gonna be
Aaron
great.
Glenn homecoming back in the Dome.
This is going to be a fun one.
Man, that team, C.J. Gardner-Johnson playing safety for him.
Oh, God. He's going to get blindsided.
Well, he called out Mike Thomas, so good luck on that. If they try and match them up at all, that should be fun.
Well, hopefully Thomas
he's
is
playing.
healthy.
Look,
This
CJ
week,
got under the skin of guys who, like, on
Week 13,
teams
hopefully
he
Thomas
didn't
is
play
playing.
for.
A lot of people don't like CJ.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved watching him here. I wish that trade, I think, was a
Awful.
disaster. And it did hurt us last year.
Hey, but it's telling that he's on a different team already.
Yeah.
Well, I got a feeling he's going to be bouncing from team to team.
Well, his demands, the reason he was not here is his demands were crazy, which was proven to be true in the offseason because he
Correct.
did not get the contract he thought he deserved from anyone in the league when he was a free agent. So the Saints were right and stayed disciplined. I don't disagree with not paying him, but he was still on contract.
Keep him.
You got nothing in return.
Keep him
for the
Get the
season and
comp-
let him walk.
get the comp
Take the
pick.
comp
Oh,
pick.
yeah. Look.
Take the comp pick and move on.
I've already
fine.
buried the CJ situation. We can't go back down that
Yeah.
road. But I think
I just didn't understand that trade.
No one did.
no one did. We still don't. And I don't think we ever will. But
Let's
him
talk
on the-
about it, though. Talk it through. What's going to happen? What do you see happening in that game at home, December 3rd, first game in December, so we're in the final push, final quarter of the season. What do you see happening?
You know my stance on Detroit last year.
They're tough as fuck, dude. And they
No,
play.
I disagreed with you. I know. You said that. I said they caught a schedule run that was like the easiest in the league against a bunch of backup quarterbacks, won a bunch of games. I give them all the credit for doing it. They were exciting at the end of the year. They threw the ball around the park like crazy. They were fun to watch. Jamal Williams was there, scored a shit ton of touchdowns. They, in the most ridiculous draft move ever, trade Swift away for nothing just to draft Gibbs at 12. Makes no sense. You ended up with basically the same player
yeah.
while giving up a first-round pick in exchange for a late-round pick. Didn't understand that. I thought their draft was weird. I'm not sold on them as making the jump this year, like a lot of people. Their division is very easy with Aaron Rodgers gone. So they could very well make the playoffs and not be a good, kind of like our situation.
Yeah.
We could be a second-tier team and still make the playoffs very easily. I think they're in the same boat. They're up against Minnesota probably for that division unless Jordan Love is better than, advertised. I'm going to say that's a win. I think Lattimore shuts down St. Brown. I'm not worried about much else on that team offensively. Defensively, they're a catastrophe last year. They were awful. I think we scored like crazy at home on them. I feel like that is a comfortable win. I think we're up for that game because they probably have a really good record coming in. we're both going to be winning teams coming into that game, and it's going to be a very important NFC matchup. I think we get up for that. I think we beat the shit out of them.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think it's the same thing. I think Detroit is going to have that just they're going to build up some wins over soft teams, and then they're going to come in feeling high and mighty. And I think DA is going to look at it and say, "Hey, we had Campbell, we had Aaron Glenn on the staff, focusing on defense when they were there. So I think we come out, we have a point to prove, and we win."
I think the only thing good that's going to happen for the Lions in that game is that CJ is going to have a pick because he's going to force himself into it. But it's going to end there. He's going to have a pick. He's going to hoot and holler. Might even be a personal foul on the play. But that's
I think
about
we exploit the shit out.
I think so too. I don't think he does shit.
We're going to put
you.
Shaheed in the slot or something.
I'm
and
not
run
going to
right
say
at
he's
him.
going to have a graded out.
I think Michael
game.
Thomas, if he's healthy,
like-
comes out and cooks him.
He's going to catch a stray. He has straight pass from
Let
Derek
me just
Carr.
say this: if Dennis Allen has
That's
any
it.
balls,
But that's it.
he's lining up MT in the slot the entire game, right over him.
Exactly.
And just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Let him
okay,
cook.
Yeah.
you talking shit?
Like it's
You
going to be a
want to see
situation
what an All-Pro looks
where-
like?
That's
Go
the
for it.
Sean Payton move. Payton would literally take Michael Thomas and
I would
put
do
him
that in
on
a
CJ
second.
Gardner
Yeah.
Johnson the whole game.
Yeah,
That's
good
what
luck.
I'm saying. It's going to be one of those like bits.
I don't think Gardner Johnson does shit in the game.
It's gonna be a bit-
I think
a bit of
he comes
irony.
in and that's it.
That's the only thing he's going to do. He's going to get that and then lose.
You're
have a
overestimating his ability. I don't see it. It's not going to happen.
I'm not talking about his ability, Max. I'm saying he's going to have one good play, and he's going to get owned the rest of the game. I agree with you on that. He's going to have his little interception, and then Mike Thomas is going to say, like, how'd the interception feel? Look at the scoreboard.
Okay.
It's going to be with that kind of game.
Don't see it. He gets lit up. Like
I
a
see
Christmas
us
tree.
scoring in the 30s in this game and them
Yeah.
being around 20. I see a double-digit win. And
Yeah,
I
This,
think
this one feels like a 38-21
Hopefully it
game.
is.
And make no mistake, this is a seeding game for the playoffs.
Yeah.
If I'm right
yeah.
about the Saints, this is
All-
about seeding, right?
All
here.
the NFC
This is
games
the,
count.
This is the second, third seed type of seeding.
Yeah.
You better believe we're going to be in some kind of tiebreaker at the end of the year, too, if we're in contention.
This one
Things
feels
go
like
right.
they're going to look at this game and say, okay, this is a statement game. Let's find CJ Gardner Johnson and let's expose
So
him.
everyone's saying a W on that one, huh?
Yep. All
Okay.
right. So next week we have the Panthers coming in. Again, it's the second of 3 straight home games. I feel good about this one, regardless who they're playing at quarterback. I think coming off a win against the Lions, it's that time of the year where hopefully things are going well for us and we can see the importance of every game. Rookies are playing better. Yeah, it's a win for me. Not too much else to discuss.
I'm going to say this is a scheduling gift for us too. 4 of the last 6 at home.
Yeah.
On the road at LA, and at Tampa. Tampa being probably one of the easier teams we'll play. And our toughest games, for the most part, are at home this year. Other than, I guess it's 50-50. But having Detroit at home, Giants, divisional games are split. I guess it's about 50-50 because we're at New England, we're at Green Bay. We have Jacksonville at home. I think this is an absolute win, but I gave a L on the first game, so I'm saying we're splitting with Carolina.
Yeah, same.
I think that's where it shakes out. 1-1 against Carolina. We both win at home.
Help me out. I took an L on the first one too, right?
Yeah, I think we all did. Yeah.
Okay. So
We
I'm
all
going to
said
take a
an L.
win on this one. For all the reasons that Nick just said, give me the W in this one.
Okay, that's an easy one. We talked about Carolina already, so
Yep.
let's go to the next
All
one.
right, Giants. I want to say win, but if there is a home game out of that stretch that we lose, assumes the health of Saquon, assumes that Danny Dimes is decent.
I do not
I'm-
think he's decent. I do not give a fuck if Saquon's playing. We beat the shit out of the Giants.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah,
It's a W.
like I said, it's an assumption.
No,
But
give me-
I'm going W. I'm going W.
Give me a W. The Giants last year were frauds. Nick and I talked about
yeah,
this a
I
bunch.
agree with that. Yeah.
They played above their skill level for most of the season.
If you
and
run
they
a
took
QB
advantage. They won a
sweep-
lot of close games.
For all your big plays, because he's a good athlete, you're
Yeah.
not a good team.
Exactly.
Sorry. And God bless him. He got the money. I want everybody to get paid. I'm glad they paid him. We didn't pay him. He is a limited quarterback.
I think it was Cowherd, and I don't usually like half the stuff he says every now and then, but he actually had a funny thing where he was like, you know what Danny would what he looked like the last game? A quarterback that went to Duke. Just called it there. And it was one of the few times where I'm like, he got me on that
Let's
one.
be honest, his most impressive plays are running plays, and he's not a Justin Fields runner. He's a really great athlete, but not an elite athlete.
Except you can't let him run in too wide open spaces or he just falls on his own.
That's true. Right at the 2.
Yeah.
But again, that is, to me, this has not much to do with the Saints. The Giants, I think, were just complete overachievers last year.
Yeah.
And they still have a lot of work to do to become a really good team. I just think we're a better roster than them. We have a better quarterback than them. We're at home. Late in the season, we need the game. Again, the Giants are probably a marginal 500 team there fighting for a playoff spot. It's going to be a tough game.
Even our ability to spite ourselves, we should still pull this one out. The next week is our second Thursday night game. This one in Los Angeles. Now, this one is subject to be flexed per the new rule. We would have to know this 28 days from the game. So,
it won't be flexed.
You know,
this one's pretty straightforward. So Rams, their roster is devoid of talent. They're obviously tanking to try to get a hold of Caleb Williams and bring him from USC to LA. This is the win. I don't think we need to go into this one too much.
Shit, we might.
That team is
I'm going to
bad.
disagree because it's a Thursday night game and go into the West Coast. That's really the only reason. It's a terrible team. I agree with you 100%. It's a bad team.
It's Aaron Donald and a bunch of guys.
Right. They cut Wagner too. Did he ever sign anywher?
He went to Seattle, I think. He went back.
Went back? Good. Well, that's where he should be.
Cue the music. Coming home.
But Cooper Kupp's back. If Stafford's playing, it's on the. If they have their people.
Well, look, we very
What
well.
are you going with? You going with an L?
I'm going to call it a loss just because of the schedule.
All
just
right.
because it's a Thursday night going to the West Coast right after a Sunday game.
I like the curveball. I like it.
Yeah, I'm going to call that one a loss.
Okay.
Not because I think they're a better team than us. Just because
Corey,
that's
what you got?
shit scheduling. Thursday night on the West Coast.
Okay.
That's screwing the Saints on the schedule, in my opinion.
Well,
Yeah.
and you know what though? Now that I'm looking at it, it's a 4-day break between games, between the Giants game.
And you got to fly out
so
there.
shitty.
4-hour flight.
That's a good point. That's a real good point.
Uh,
But now we have 10 games between the Rams and the Bucks.
but I agree with Max.
Yes.
It'll be a short break. There'll be a lot of adversity getting out there, but I still think it's one that
You got to win.
you win. And
They're tanking, dude. They're
and look,
tanking.
there is a strong possibility that you're not playing against Matt Stafford, that you're playing against Stetson Bennett. That late in the season.
Oh God, what will you
And as
do?
much as I love Stetson, we're gonna win against
I
a
knew you
team
would bring
that
that
he's
up.
the quarterback. Okay.
Well, no, he's got a good point though. I mean, Stafford's fragile, and honestly, they're
Maybe-
tanking. They're positioning themselves for Caleb.
They're not going for the one pick, dude. Stafford's
I don't know that they're
Stafford's going to
tanking.
play enough
Yeah.
of the season where they're not the one pick. Let's be honest.
I agree
We'll
with
see.
Max about their roster makeup. I don't know that
The
I agree
roster
with
sucks.
Max.
The roster's
I'm
bad,
100% agreement.
I don't know that they're tanking. I think that McVay is too prideful to ever
Right. And
be
McVay is
complicit
like-
in that. But I think that they're just going to have a difficult time stringing together wins or any group of wins. But
So
I
you're
think
saying W.
saying W. Yep.
Nick, you're saying L.
Arizona's in their division. I'm saying L for sure.
You're saying L.
Okay.
I'm saying
Yeah.
L based on the division. I'm just saying I think they win a few games where the tank mode doesn't make sense at that point either.
I know.
That they're still trying to win. So I'm calling it an L just because Thursday night coming off a Sunday game. That's a tough turnaround. We come out tired. We've got to travel. They don't. They're sitting at home. Maybe they're playing for nothing. Maybe we're playing for everything. Who knows?
Yeah, no, and that's a fair point. With a 4-day turnaround, that's a short turnaround. So that's a
Yeah.
good point.
At Tampa for me is a win just because it's Tampa. I made my point on that before.
I'm with you.
Yeah, this is an easy one.
No further. Yeah,
All right, so we round out the season at home in the Dome against the team from Atlanta. It has to be a win. It's a win for me.
it's a win.
You know.
It's a loss for me.
Oh.
It's a loss because we have clinched the playoff. We've clinched the division at this point.
Well, time out. Tally it up. Where are we at? How many wins? Each of us.
My record's
Well, we're
Probably
getting to that.
stupid.
No, we're just saying. I'm just saying. I think we've clinched probably 2 weeks before this. I think our division's bad.
So we've clinched what? The division?
The division,
or,
right.
okay.
We've
not
clinched a home
field.
game. We're not going to be the 1 seed. There's no way. I think that's out. There's
So
no.
you don't think we're still competing for it?
No,
Okay.
I don't.
Well, we might clinch the division before the bye week.
I will say, by y'all standards, we are definitely competing for it. But I think Derek Carr's holding the clipboard that game. I think we're clinched
Jake
up.
Handler's in there cooking?
We're good. Yeah,
Not
taking
famous
weird
Jameis?
selfies, doing all kinds of
Ready
shit.
to let Jameis
Throwing
have the one
4
game?
picks?
No.
Go out and Saint Sunset?
No.
Maybe they do.
Put Hainer in.
I hope not. He is a bad saint.
All right, so what do we got, Nick?
I think we're clinched. I think we're sitting a bunch of starters, and I think we lose that game.
Okay, so you say L, I say W, Corey says W.
Okay,
Where we
Nick,
at?
you've been our secretary, our recorder for this episode.
So let's bring it back. When
Where
we
are
talked
we?
about this previously, I had us as
We both said 11,
we both said 11.
I said
Corey
10.
said 10.
And I know
and Corey went way over
I'm
to
way
10.
over that now.
Corey now thinks we're a 13-4 team.
13?
13-4.
What am I at?
Max
Well, I'm
thinks
wrong.
we're a 14-3 team
Jesus
this year.
Christ.
I have us at
13?
11-6. I have us at 11-6.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's kind of funny. But
That is funny.
That was the point we were making about the schedule, because
Right.
even if we lose a couple of those games you guys thought were wins,
Yeah.
it's still an 11-team division champ team.
Agreed.
So you've got to think we're a 2-3 seed in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Even if me being the worst case scenario,
Yeah, I think 11 gets you there, yeah. Yeah.
11's going to get you a 2 or 3 home game in the playoffs, maybe a second one if you get the 2. It's just a weak conference this year.
Yeah, it is.
It's just
It
a
is.
weak
It's
conference.
the Eagles
And
and
again,
everybody else.
Eagles and the 49ers and everybody else.
Yeah.
It projects to be weak.
Correct. There's 2 teams that I think are for
Clearly
sure better than
better.
us and have a better roster than
Yeah.
us. And there are probably 3 or 4 teams that have a similar roster to us. But our division is easier.
Yeah.
So, you've got to be pretty excited about how the offseason's shaking out.
Very good.
So I have them at 11-6, 14-3 for Max, 13-4 for Corey. I think that says we all think this is a playoff team, division champ, probably not home field advantage.
I don't know. My 14 and
14-3 would do it.
otherwise.
Yeah, because their schedules are way harder than ours,
Oh,
Eagles and
man.
49ers. But either way, I think we're all expecting, a little bit more than maybe some people think of it.
And I think it goes to what we were talking about off air earlier, and maybe it's something we'll share with Twitter or somewhere else. But I did a comparison of last year's, because it's always projections before the season starts versus what actually happened. And the whole, everyone's like, oh, the Saints have the 3rd strength of schedule. And I think Max and I's projections speak to that, because when you look at the teams point blank, that's all it is. And so, there's, like you said, Nick, a worked in reality to what actually happens. Like, for instance, last year, if you look at the projected strength of schedule, the Kansas City Chiefs were supposed to have the hardest strength of schedule. They ended up with the 4th easiest strength of schedule. And that's just one example. There were 3 teams who had the top 10.
Right. Well,
easiest-
the NFL tries to make it
easiest-
where the best teams
they,
have.
That's what I'm
the
saying.
worst.
They try as hard as they may try. You have 3 teams from last. If we're looking at last year's sample, 3 teams who had the top 10 easiest schedule were ended up with the top 10 hardest schedule.
Yeah.
And so that happens every year. So it's something we have to be aware of. And I think your win total accounts for that. Max's and I's does not.
Yeah, let me say this though. I know I'm on the record with 14, but no, it's going to be 11. I'm saying 11-6. I don't know where it is, and I need to look at it, and we'll go over it before.
There's just hiccup games in there for sure.
there are hiccup games, and I know I'm wrong.
Back to Corey's,
saying
though,
11.
the strength of schedule thing. I agree. That's why I like to look at the quarterbacks, because the quarterbacks
Yeah, that's the real
decide
metric.
wins more than anything else. And this quarterback schedule for the Saints is,
Yeah.
I don't know if another team has ever
awful.
had
It's
something
awful.
this crazy good. The best quarterback we play,
Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence, and
Kirk
if
Cousins.
Matt Stafford is healthy, and after that, you're Kirk Cousins,
Cousins,
and
that's
you
it.
don't even have a 4th.
And I really don't even see a pathway to health for Stafford
Right.
that late in the season. I just don't.
I mean, It was a
Because he's
shoulder
gonna get
injury
hit.
this year, right?
He's going to get hit a lot. So,
Yeah.
look,
Well, there it is.
here it is. A longer episode for sure, but damn it, we covered every single game. And we gave you the win-losses. We gave you Max and I's unrealistic predictions, but
You can make fun of
I'm
us
already
later.
reneging on mine.
anyway, so thanks again for listening to another episode of the 2823 podcast.